Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together. This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here, and we're going to press on, and we're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny f***ing Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's going to find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
I mean, that's a lot, but, well, I don't know what else to say except it's Christmas, and we're all in misery. And with that being said, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
And welcome to We Watch TV, the podcast about the TV we watch. This is episode 48, and that was a mouthful. How many takes did we do on that?
I think you only did 3.
I did one before we tried to
bit.
record, and that one was pretty good. And then I messed 2 up. The one I messed up, I got almost there.
How many takes do you think Chevy Chase did?
I don't know. I heard an interview with him the other day. Not that rant, but the other one with
about his
boss, that he still has it memorized.
I think he did it at what they were like. They had a reunion, some type of convention.
Yeah,
like Beverly D'Angelo, and he was there, and I think he did it during that convention. Like he recited that. That's the Hallelujah, Holy. Where's the Tylenol?
Yeah.
So anyway, like we said, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. This is a special Christmas-themed episode that we've got for you today. We're going to talk about some of our favorite Christmas movies, favorite Christmas episodes from TV shows, and yeah, where do you want to kick it off? Do you want to talk about shows first? We did some polls. Do you want to go over our polls?
Let's hit up the polls that we did and see what other people had their thoughts on all this stuff.
All right. So the first poll that we put out was...
By the way, this is all on the We Watch TV podcast Instagram account. If you're not a follower already and you'd like to follow us, we do polls and all kinds of other fun stuff there on a pretty regular basis. So join us if you haven't followed us already. I
like how you've gone back to your calm, I'm Daniel, my radio voice, after Clark Griswold's rants. But we did get a couple responses. The first question was, name some of your favorite Christmas movies. We got the usual stuff like Home Alone, Christmas Vacation, The Muppet Christmas Carol, and then we also had someone say Elf, totally agree, Deck the Halls, Christmas Vacation again, and the 12 Men of Christmas, which they said is a Lifetime classic. Now, I've seen some of the Lifetime Christmas movies. I like the one with Hillary Burton Morgan, with also Clay from One Tree Hill, which they were never on One Tree Hill at the same time together. Remember, weren't they no, she was in Louisiana with, was that the one she had with Chris Keller? She did two different ones.
Yeah, that was Louisiana and Chris Keller.
The one that she did with Clay, where they had the whole they're fake dating, but then they get together at the end. I really like that one.
What one's Deck the Halls?
What?
Why don't I remember? Why do I not have a memory of Deck the Halls?
Because I'm gonna have to disagree with this follower who tuned in and said Deck the Halls, because Deck the Halls is awful.
Oh,
we saw that in theaters.
Who is in that? You don't even know, do you?
It's Matthew Broderick, but I.
Oh, Matthew. Okay. I still don't know that I have any memory of that thing. Okay.
It's Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito. That's what I wanted to confirm. Kristen Davis, Kristen Chenoweth is in it. Remember the two neighbors are having kind of a competition. It's not the best.
Okay.
It's not the best. But I do think there are some people that have an affinity for it. Maybe their affinity that they have for it is similar to what I have for Christmas with the Cranks. So I'll let it fly.
That's true, because there's a lot of people, including at least 50% of this podcast hosts, that are
you don't hate Christmas with the Cranks, but you don't consider it. I still don't consider it in my A group.
I mean, I have to learn to live with it because you watch it every year.
We saw Deck the Halls in theaters.
Oh, well.
And I don't think we've seen it since, because we were not super into it. But, to each their own. That's the beautiful thing about Christmas. And then we also got a response about Fred Claus. They said Fred Claus is underrated. We also saw Fred Claus in theaters, which you apparently don't remember seeing that in theaters.
I remember that one more than I remember
Deck the Halls,
apparently.
Probably fugue state
when you
Deck the
say
Halls.
when you say Fred Claus, I know Vince Vaughn was the lead in that movie.
Yes.
And I knew Paul Giamatti was in it. So
Paul plays Santa Claus.
Yeah, I remember at least that much about it.
I remember we thought it was just okay when we saw it in theaters. I've since seen it. I think I watched it on TV a few years ago, probably more than a few years ago at this point. The time is running together. And again, I had a similar opinion. So I do want to give that one a chance again because I've seen a lot of other podcasters talking about that one. So I'm wondering if it's had I know they've been showing it on TV more recently the past couple years, and I think you can watch it on I think you can watch it on Hulu. One of the streaming sites has it. And I think it's had a resurgence because I've heard a lot of people. I was just listening to a couple different podcasts the other day, all totally unrelated. One was Bachelor Happy Hour. The other was my Drama Queens, my One Tree Hill podcast. So two completely different types of podcasts. And they were talking about some Christmas stuff, and that was mentioned.
I wonder if it's for us, the Four Christmases kind of effect, where we saw Four Christmases in theaters and we're like, whatever.
It's all right.
And then we watched it again a couple years later on streaming and we're like, oh, this is funny. And now we kind of watch it. And then every year, and it's still probably B tier.
Yeah, but it's really good.
But it's grown on us, I think, as the years have gone on. And Elf was kind of that way for us as well.
Yeah, but Elf is A tier.
Yeah, Elf has now joined the A tier.
Yeah, we also saw, I remember seeing Four Christmases in theaters, and we kind of had the same opinion, it was funny. I know I liked Four Christmases when I saw it in theaters better than Fred Claus. I do have that memory. But it was a while back. It was obviously before the pandemic Christmas. I remember it was one of those Christmases where I did not feel very good. I think my stomach was bothering me, and I just put it I actually watched a movie on TV, which I rarely do because we own so many Christmas movies or there's so many streaming options. And I'm like, okay, this is really funny. And then you joined me and you were like, okay, this is really funny. And it's since become a staple. So Four Christmas is very good. But yes, like you said, Elf. We also saw that one in theaters. That would have been... I know that would have been when we first started dating, because that would have came out in fall 2003, the holiday season. So that might have been our second or third movie that we ever saw together, period. Because we didn't get to go to a lot of movies at the beginning of our courtship because we had meets and stuff.
Yeah, we were jammed in a smelly van driving around the Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Ohio area to run like idiots.
So, yeah, Elf is definitely A tier now. So that's some of the responses that we got from that. And then we also specifically asked on We Watch TV podcast Instagram and my personal Twitter to see Home Alone 1 or Home Alone 2. Both great movies. Home Alone 1, or the OG, let's just say Home Alone, got 88% of the vote on Instagram with a meager 12% coming in for Home Alone 2. And then on Twitter, it got 76% Home Alone OG, and then Home Alone 2 got 24%. Now, somebody else on Twitter responded that one easily, so they take the first Home Alone better. But then they said Home Alone 3 is better than Home Alone 2.
That's a wild take.
That is a wild take. I actually responded to this person and I said, I pretend the others past two don't exist. And I was like, what do you like about 3? And they said this. They said, it's different. He's not abandoned at home, just home alone during the day. Storyline is pretty good. The reboot was atrocious, but 3 is likable in my opinion. Now, I had to go in and look up because I know when one of the Home Alones, which I think was Home Alone 4, they did try to make it was Kevin again, even though Macaulay Culkin obviously wasn't in it. This one was about a different little boy. But yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with that. Why? I was not expecting that take.
No, that's an out there one.
Expecting that
that's
take.
Not one I've heard before. I'm not deeply steeped in Home Alone lore past the first two, so I don't know that I can argue with the storylines or anything that are going on.
The kind of reboot on Disney Plus, which was not very good at all.
No,
but it did have Buzz back in it, who's a cop now, and then Kevin apparently, who Macaulay Culkin didn't appear, but we found out that Kevin designs security systems now.
I mean, that checks out.
And he was messing with Buzz, which was great because Buzz always messed with him. And then we did get one comment about this from somebody that was Team Home Alone 2. They said that's a really hard one. Home Alone is classic and groundbreaking, but just based on the better movie to watch on repeat, it's Home Alone 2 because of the New York setting, which is why I voted Home Alone 2. That was what this follower said to us. And I can see that. I know for me personally, I go with the OG Home Alone, but there is something very special about the New York setting and Home Alone 2. And you and I, we've sat down and we've already watched both of these because this is the week we start to roll out with the A group Christmas movies that
no
we
more
moved, no more Hallmark.
No more Hallmark movies. I've made it through another season with my sanity, supposedly.
Supposedly.
So no more Hallmarks, and now we're getting into some A tier Christmas movies
Yeah.
with a few B's sprinkled in there. The Hallmarks are like F tier, so
Oh, give him a C plus. Round and Round would get like a C plus.
it's not a Christmas movie.
I guess so. It's not Biltmore Christmas.
It's
B minus?
D tier.
You're absurd. Anyway, Home Alone 2, one of the comments that we both observed, other than the fact that the Harry and Marv would like die a lot more times,
So many times.
we did observe that it's more like Christmas in your face compared to the first one. Like the first one's almost like it's set at Christmas, they're traveling at Christmas, but like we have the famous line, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animal," that everybody repeats. That does not happen in Home Alone. That is not till Home Alone 2, because they give the angels with filthier souls or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
the second one. That line is in that one. It's just more, I felt like there was more
Well,
like
they just
sprinklings in of Christmas. They're like,
Home Alone 2 is Home Alone 1.
yeah, they're like, rewrite the script, give it a little more Christmas.
Exactly. Just everything is turned up. The Christmas is turned up.
Yeah, it's more
The
cartoony.
cartooniness is turned up. The violence is turned up. Like
By a lot.
everything is turned up. And of course then there's ghosts in it as well, which is just completely
It's
crazy.
not a ghost. We'll get into that in a minute.
Okay.
I'll definitely say in response again to the person that said, about the New York setting, that movie is what created my obsession to go to New York City. And I still have not seen New York City at Christmas, but my first time when I finally got to go to New York City, seeing the famous Plaza Hotel was like top of my list of stuff to go look at.
Sure.
And it was super, super cool getting to see that in person, because I grew up loving the movie Home Alone 2, and I'm convinced that's why I still to this day, some year I want to go and I want to see the big tree at Rockefeller Center. Unfortunately, though, Duncan's Toy Chest isn't a real toy store, but they do have a really cool Toys R Us. They did when I went in. I think I went in 2012 to New York City. They had a huge Toys R Us that had a couple different floors that reminded me of Duncan's Toy Chest. It was really cool.
This house is nice, but it doesn't have a bathroom. That's what Marv says. So
Merry Christmas, Harry. Happy Hanukkah, Marv. What does that smell? Fish.
And I think we've talked about these two movies in length alone, in
We
the
should have been
darkness
recording
in the
ourselves.
darkness of winter. But both of us, I think, have had that conversation about when we were kids. We liked the second one. We would
Yeah.
say the second one was our favorite.
It was.
And as we've grown older and continue to watch them, certainly for me, I think the laziness of the script writing gives the first one more points for me than that. I mean, you can't
And
ignore
are you going to
it.
agree with the
You-
Twitter
you-
follower that said that's why they like the third one better because
No,
it's different?
that's wild. But you can't ignore if you watch them back to back, which
Yeah.
we
And
watched.
a lot of
them-
movies do that. The Hangover did it. And then you know what?
I criticized The Hangover
and
for
you know
that
what?
back in the day.
And then what happened when The Hangover 3 came out? Everyone was like, we hate this one because it did not follow the dual script. Even Daniel himself complained. I got, ladies and gentlemen, obsessed with the Hangover movies. I know that they are basically gutter trash humor. That's what I like. I mean, why do you think I married Daniel? Ha ha! Because he's funny and grumpy.
And gutter trash, apparently.
No. That's not what I meant by that.
All right, so we talking about the first one or the second one? Because I've got things to say about both.
All right, so let's go ahead and kick this, since we're already in the Home Alone discussion. I would consider both Home Alone 1 and 2 in the A group
Yeah,
of Christmas
I agree.
movies. Obviously, Home Alone's going up there. If I was forced to make a list of like my top 4 or top 5, Home Alone 2 might fall out of that. But if we're going to just group them by A group, I'm going to stick both movies in there. So let's dive right in. First off, are you the Kevin of your family?
No.
Am I?
Yes.
Absolutely. Hey, family.
I'm not the Buzz either, though. By the way,
You're not the Buzz either. You're probably like Big Pete. What is his name? Jeff.
the one nobody cares about and
Yeah.
just forgotten.
There's like, Buzz told you what to pack: toilet paper and water. I used to listen to that and think that's what Buzz really packed when I was younger.
You used to. You asked me that like while we were sitting on the couch watching it this like 2 days
Do
ago.
you think that's what he really packed? Used to, as in 2 days ago, I used to think that.
Yeah.
To clarify. As the Kevin of my family, and no offense to any family listening, this one resonates with me. I have been like Kevin before, where you set me off and I know I'm going to get in trouble and I'll just mouth off right back. Like, that's like hope coded as a kid. one of the reasons too why I do love Home Alone so much, and a lot of people, it just takes me back to gatherings and Christmas stuff as a child. My dad's side of the family is huge. Do you not agree?
Huge.
Huge. My dad had
whatever you're thinking,
several siblings.
Whatever you're thinking, double it.
Yeah. Like even more so, there would be more kids around than that.
The first time I had to show up to your family gathering, it was Christmas Eve. It was a Christmas Eve, so it was like the show, right?
Yeah.
Of your like that is the biggest gathering your family has is Christmas Eve, or it did at that point in time. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
My dad has 8 siblings.
Yeah.
So, and all the siblings have had children. And now, even starting then, that was the beginning of some of like the older cousins were starting to have kids. And I had told because your first family experience was my mom's side, and I was like, "Oh, my mom's side is."
I thought they
small.
were big,
and you thought they were big. So it takes me back, both of these movies, to that like it's basically my dad's side of the family, especially like coded, like the way like all the cousins are kind of ripping on each other, but everyone's ripping through the house, just the chaotic atmosphere. It just reminds me of that, and then plus, that is the age, like we are a little younger than Macaulay Culkin in real life, but like we are like children of that 90s generation, and just like everything about that reminds me of what Christmas gatherings in particular were like when I was younger. Just pure chaos. So how were your gatherings? Were they ever similar to these? Because you have it came from a smaller
no
family.
I mean low key.
Yours are more quiet and subdued.
Yeah, like the rowdiest of the rowdy, there were probably still like maybe 20 people there.
Yeah.
Maybe. And that's like second cousins have shown up at
Yeah.
that point. You get to 20 people and it's all like direct family. Like, like uncles and cousins, uncles, aunts and cousins. Like it's nuts.
And everybody looked at you that first Christmas that you showed up.
Of course. It's like, who's this guy?
Now just imagine though, like all of us cousins though, as kids running around being chaotic.
It would have been nuts. So yeah, I can see how it could very easily, one of your houses could turn into that opening scene from Home Alone with everybody running around.
Thankfully, we don't have anyone that's directly like Uncle Frank, because Uncle Frank is a bum.
Yeah, Uncle and the whole McAllister clan.
Even Peter and Kate.
Like they're just not like. They're a dumpy family.
They're that family you see at Walt Disney World, for example, when you go on vacation, that you get stuck behind them in line. Mm-hmm. They don't have their magic bands out. They try to go get on like the mine train without their Genie Plus reservation and then complain about it.
They're trying to get into a restaurant without a reservation and just with a family of 9.
Yeah.
And they're yelling at the hostess because there's nothing available for like 2 hours.
The kids are wandering off alone.
Yeah, they definitely. I mean, they lose a kid at home, so they're definitely losing a kid at Disney.
They lost a kid twice.
Twice, yes.
This is why I think Uncle Rob is the best of the family. Like he clearly. Let's talk about Uncle Rob in detail. So
Balla.
Rob McAllister, baller. So we know Peter and Kate are loaded. Look at their house.
Sure.
I think Kate probably makes, like, I've surmised that she's probably a fashion designer. One of my favorite things when we watch Home Alone is to figure out what their jobs are. I think Peter is like an investment banker of some sort, that he's probably intelligent from that aspect, but obviously a dope in real life. We all know those people that make a ton of money are just idiots. I think that sums up him. I think Kate probably is smarter, but she's just trying to manage the chaos so much that sometimes like she can't just do it all on her own. I think she's probably like all those mannequins lying around. I think fashion designer. I don't know what the heck Frank does. Maybe used car salesman.
I don't know. Peter feels like the kind of guy who stumbled his way into middle management and then started failing upwards.
Yes.
They didn't know what to do with him, so they just kept promoting him to put him in front of more people, and there he is.
And at that time period, late 80s, early 90s, when he was, in the workforce, he was able to do what many of that, the group of boomers did and make a lot of money.
Yep.
What do we think? Do you agree with me? Frank, maybe used car salesman. I think Leslie might be a teacher of some sort.
I could see
clearly
Leslie
don't
as
make
a teacher.
very much money.
I think Frank is a used. I don't know. You got to be able to be like. We've never seen him have rapport with anybody. He's always just been grumpy and grouchy, and that just doesn't speak used car salesman to me.
Then what job do you think he's doing?
He's got to be just like an accountant or something.
I don't think he'd be very good with numbers.
I don't know. He did the math on how much the pizzas cost right there, even though he wasn't going to pay for it.
Cheapskate.
So.
What do we think, Leslie? Maybe Leslie's a teacher of some sort.
Yeah, I can see that.
or she's a homemaker and Frank just does something.
Who knows?
Maybe he bounces around from job to job.
All I
Maybe
know
he
is
sells knives.
if
There's people that sell knives from door to door. He's a knife salesman.
he's a door-to-door vacuum.
Whatever
salesman.
Rob's doing, though, Rob has got it going on. So let's talk about Uncle Rob here. Best
Who
in the
we
family.
really only see for like 3 seconds.
For like 3
on
seconds.
screen. Yeah.
The man has a New York City brownstone.
Yes.
Expensive. That he's also having paid to completely remodel.
Mm-hmm.
More expense. Now, even if his company paid for the move to Paris, he's making good money for the company to put him in an apartment with a view of the Eiffel Tower. That looked like a pretty nice place. Now, we were wondering the other night, because Kate makes the comment, oh, his kids are here to finish school. He's already in Paris. Do we think that he also has a house in Chicago, or do you think the kids are living with a nanny maybe in New York City? What do you think?
They left that like they just.
We
they
noticed
didn't
something in the
expand.
second one, though. The son, obviously Heather, who's clearly older, she's probably in college now, so she's not around. But the second
And
one,
she's done what all of us college days people know.
Yeah, pieced
that just
out.
pieced out.
the son, though, he's totally going to Florida with them. That's
Yeah.
not Frank's son. I did extensive research, you guys, on this because it's a part of apparently my mental illness. I must know everything about every subject. And we do have it confirmed. There was a question on my Facebook. Is Frank Peter's brother? Yes. Kate says my brother-in-law drove in from Ohio.
Ohio.
Ohio. And yeah. So Rob has got it going on. Rob is the moneymaker of the family. Rob, I think, probably barely puts up with the other two who seem to hang out more. Rob doesn't even participate in the second one. He's
No.
like, I'm going to stay in Paris. I'm not
Going to
especially
Florida.
I mean, Peter's smart enough to let Frank plan the trip, and they take him to this Bedbug Blues motel in Miami. So yeah, Rob is the smartest in the McAllister family. Peter's doing very well. Frank the bum. Anybody that ever would call my kid a jerk, I'd be throwing him out of my house.
I was about to say that. I was like that just wouldn't fly. Like, no.
Yeah. No.
And no
You can
matter
tell
how
Kate
big of
barely
a
puts up with
brat
him.
my kid was being, and Kevin was barely being a brat.
They had it coming too.
He was barely being a brat.
Buzz provoked him.
Certainly does not. It would not stand. And I mean, that's just like, don't yell at my kid.
No.
If anybody's yelling at my kid, I'll yell at my kid.
How did he get Leslie to marry him? Because Leslie seems pretty nice, and she does laugh at the Christmas pageant. But I feel like Peter and Kate were the only adults in the second one that weren't laughing during the Christmas pageant, and they're just idiots. But I feel like Leslie seems to be nicer. She was at least trying to be helpful, whereas in the first one, Peter's like, Uncle Frank's like, if it makes you feel any better, I forgot my reading glasses.
I guess there just aren't any good options in Ohio for Leslie other than Uncle Frank.
All right, then.
That's the only thing I can think of.
So Buzz, why is the family? I think Buzz is slow, and that Kate and Peter treat him that way for a reason. And I think Buzz is probably the type. At first, I thought maybe he got made fun of at school, but I think in the second one, you see they probably go to a private school where they might not have as many kids. So because Buzz would totally be the type, especially in the first one, before he kind of like slims out and stuff, that I feel like would be made fun of in school. Like, Buzz, your girlfriend, woof.
Oh, Buzz definitely gets his own crap at school, which is why he gives so much
Takes
crap
out.
to Kevin.
But why
'Cause
is
it's
the
only-
family obsessed with him?
Every family's got that one kid that they're
I
obsessed
guess
with.
so. I
Every
guess
single one
so.
of them has them.
Buzz, in the second one, Buzz provokes Kevin. I don't think Kevin did anything wrong. They'd be like, oh, Kevin shouldn't have retaliated. I've been in that situation before where you try me and then I retaliate and I am the one that gets in trouble. And then like how Kevin basically seals his fate in both movies because like Buzz ate his pizza. I actually had a similar incident happen to me once when I was in Morocco in
gosh.
college where someone ate my pizza. Don't say you don't care what kind of pizza that you get and then eat mine when I said, no, I do care. Anyway, I totally get it, Kevin. I totally get it. But, like, Buzz provokes him both incidences, and Kevin responds, and then they all get mad at Kevin. I don't understand. One, Kevin is younger, too. Like, hello. He's the youngest of the McAllister children. I think Fuller is a little younger than him. But I don't get it. And then where Kevin snaps back, like, Kevin is a little mouthy. I'll call it that. But you know what? I'd probably be mouthy, too. So, like...
Probably.
When I grow up and get married, I'm living alone. I am probably the most mouthy part is when he goes, I am upstairs, dummy. And I just laugh every time because Peter and Kate are terrible parents.
All right. So now we got to talk about. We're talking about both Home Alone movies here. So I feel like we have to. You know, I'm not going to let you out of this conversation about Home Alone or Home Alone 2
Okay.
without discussing Old Man Marley
Old Man Marley.
and Weird Pigeon Lady.
Old Pigeon Lady.
And Old Pigeon Lady.
Which one do you prefer?
Marley.
I prefer Marley. His story is more touching, even if he really is the shovel killer.
He really is the shovel killer.
And
I
why
have
do you-
determined he is the southbound shovel killer. The reason that he's having a conflict with his son is because he wanted to pass down the mantle to him, and his son didn't want to have anything part of it. So that's why they haven't been communicating. The son's not going to turn him in because it's his father,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want to take up the mantle
But
of
the
the South Bend
granddaughter-
shovel killer. But at the end, when they reunite, maybe the granddaughter is going to take up the mantle, and you know.
And for those of us who don't think he's the
Look,
South Bend shovel
look.
killer.
When he helps Kevin at the end,
Yeah.
that's just a metal snow shovel. There's not a ton of weight to that thing. And he
Yeah.
very efficiently, for a guy in his probably late 60s, early 70s, dispatches both of the robbers with one swing.
Well, I think he could be
He's
nice
definitely swung that thing
shoveling
before.
snow. Maybe. I don't
Now let
think-
me ask you this. Okay, so do you think it's possible though?
I do think it's possible.
So unlike the Bird Lady,
Oh my gosh. But I do not think that Old Man Marley is the shovel killer. I definitely think he's the only adult with any brain
oh sure,
around. Even if he is the killer, he's the only adult with
well
any
the
sense.
killer he has never been caught, so he's clearly intelligent.
And this Home Alone, both 1 and 2, but especially the first one, could be described as how adults fail children.
Yes.
Across the board. Yeah, even the second one too, because like the hotel staff fails Kevin. So I don't think he's the shovel killer, but I do think he's a little menacing at first. But you have to realize we are seeing this from Kevin's point of view. Like the basement looks scary.
That's the perspective we're believed to be watching this from. Yes.
But the part where he like slams down his hand on the counter when Kevin's buying a toothbrush and it's all bloody, which by the way I never realized until you pointed out that he's buying bandages at that point.
Yeah, because then you said, or later you're like, oh, he cut his hand. I was like, yeah, those are the Band-Aids that he was buying at the store.
I was like, oh no, I said, oh, he actually put on good Band-Aids
Oh,
because
yeah,
he had that
yeah.
bloody thing. Like I think you see him, and I think the reason why he didn't overtly say hello, I think he's trying to figure out the situation. He knows he's definitely not close with the McAllisters. They don't hang out. They
No.
don't party together. Maybe it's because he's off killing people. I don't know. But you can tell he's starting to realize, like, I think this kid might be home alone. What do I do? Now, he does a theory that would support your theory, or a situation. We don't see Old Man Marley talk to the cops. When the
No.
cops show up at the Murphy's house,
he doesn't want anything
he
to do with
pieces
that.
out.
He pieces out of that
pieces
with
out.
Kevin, and he does not make, as far as we can
Yeah.
tell, never makes a statement, because if he did make a statement to the cops,
And I
he
don't know.
would have
I'm
had
going to
to-
assume he never talks to the McAllisters about it either.
correct, because he's a shovel killer.
Okay.
And he wants to stay as far away from any of those kind of things as he can.
It does always make me cry, even if she's taking up the helm or not, or he's just a normal old special man when he hugs his granddaughter at the end. That's very touching.
Yep. Future shovel killer.
I think that the Pigeon Lady is less heartwarming than
Yes.
Old Man Marley, but I do find it very emotional at the end where Kevin gives her the 2 turtle doves. Do you think they stayed in touch?
No, and the reason they didn't stay in touch is because she is a ghost.
She's not
Wait,
a ghost.
and by achieving friendship with Kevin, she was able to move on to the afterlife and finally achieve her peace.
You are in
The Pigeon Lady is a
minority
ghost.
from this. The Pigeon Lady is not a ghost. Why do you think she's a ghost?
Explain to me her accent.
Well, I think that's the way the actress talks. Because
Okay.
she's also in
Why did
Angels
they-
in the Outfield.
But why did they cast her in that role? She has either a British accent or like a 1780s American accent.
She's wearing those clothing because she
Why is she
grabbed
wearing
them
those clothes?
because she would go up and sneak up and watch all the performances. So where they had like the opera and like plays and crap, and she probably just grabbed clothing to put it on, and then
Did
she
she
let the birds
sneak up
poop
there?
all over her.
Did she sneak up there, or is that where she died? And so she has to come back to
is
it on a regular
upset
basis.
because she has a broken heart. That's why she hasn't
She
spoken to anyone in
speaks
years,
to-
and she lets pigeons poop on her.
No one else talks to her except for Kevin.
She talks to the
Except
criminals.
for when she reveals herself to the murderers to help Kevin, because ghosts can reveal themselves to whoever she wants.
How do you
And by the
explain
way,
the pigeons?
by the way, she seems to me not afraid at all that they have a gun that they're pointing at her, unless, of course, it doesn't matter if the gun goes off because she's a ghost.
She
and it's
already
not
knew
going
she
to
was
hurt her.
going to throw the pigeon stuff at them. The
Ghosts
food.
are known to be able to mess with animals and manipulate them to do things in ghosty
You
ways.
are incorrect. She's
Okay.
a real person. That being said, I feel like her story is a little more like when Kevin's like, you stop talking to everybody and let pigeons poop all over you because you had your heart broken.
Or she doesn't care that the pigeons poop on her because she's a ghost. They can't technically poop on her. You don't see any poop on her, by the way.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't. Her
Well,
clothes
Kevin
look
talks about
reasonably, like, unbothered by the homelessness of the situation, other than the fact that they look like from like the Victorian times. She's a ghost.
She's not a ghost. She's not a ghost. Ah! She's not a ghost. She's not a ghost. She's not a ghost.
Let us know if you think she's a ghost.
I mean, you do bring up good points. You bring up
Thank
good
you.
arguments. Because she could reveal
this is
himself
not
to
something
Harry
that I
and
just
Marv.
came up with yesterday. I've been stewing on this for
like
years.
10 years. Every time we watch, he's like, why is she dressed like she's from the 19 or 1840s or something? I'm like, well, that's because she's wearing like costume clothes and she's just wandering around. How do you explain Harry and Marv's attire? How they broke out of
They're
prison
in the same thing that they.
in the second one and they just found their clothes. Did they take the time to get their old clothes? Did they just find clothes off the street?
I don't know. Well, they didn't get the same clothes because, like, at the end of the first one, Marv's or Harry's toboggan was all burnt.
Yeah.
He's got a new toboggan.
They basically
so-
have the same
But
aesthetic.
it's very similar. Yes.
Do you want to notice the other thing that I always like to point out every year when we watch both of these movies? Because we usually watch them like one day and then the
Yeah.
other the next. The elf from the first one.
Oh God.
She's upgraded jobs because she works at, watch this next time you guys notice, she is working at the airport.
Good for her. She got a new job.
Or maybe she always worked at the airport and she just volunteered with the elves
That's true as well.
as an elf.
Can we talk about Santa from the first one?
Santa's got a little get together. He's late too.
I think there's 2 points to make. Are probably going to want to make your point about how the way
Santa's
Kevin
alive.
the way Kevin explains
oh yeah,
how that
okay.
works is very similar to how you thought.
Exactly. That is exactly what I was told when it comes to the whole Santa thing. How can there be mall Santas, or like in this case was a park Santa? I was always told, and I feel like it's a very plausible explanation, was that I never believed. Now I did feel like we knew the real Santa because we did know this dude that would show up
Everybody
at
had
this
that
Christmas
guy in
party.
their town.
Yeah, everyone had the real Santa in the town. So I did meet him once, and I was convinced that I saw Rudolph as well. Anyway. Basically, Kevin explains it, and this is what I was taught, is that I never believed that the mall Santas were real. They all work for Santa because Santa needs people to, kind of report back. So Kevin's like, I'm old enough to know how it works. I know that you work for him. And that's what I was taught and what I always believed.
Meanwhile, during that conversation, that Santa gives Kevin 3 mint Tic Tacs.
Tic Tacs.
And
Because the elf took the candy canes home for her
yeah,
boyfriend.
does anybody else just eat Tic Tacs as candy, not as breath mints?
I think you might be the only one.
And by the way, orange is the best flavor of Tic Tac.
When you and I were first getting to know each other, I remember Daniel bought some Tic Tacs, and I watched him throw it back as if it was like a box of Sour Patch Kids, and he ate the whole pack.
You
And I'm
ignored
like-
so many red flags.
There's so many things that
You
I found
ignored
charming.
so many red flags as we were dating.
Orange Tic Tacs are good, though.
Yeah, you can't just
They are
eat it
good.
two. Like how? I'm sorry, that's crazy. You're just gonna eat 2 orange Tic Tacs for the day, and that's it, and be done with it.
I don't know. That Santa Claus later would go in to be in Armageddon, right?
Yeah. They used to sell Tic Tacs in like 8 packs. It was still a little contain. I like the containers too because
Okay,
I used to take the sticker off and like put stuff in them.
I would have rather had Tic Tacs than candy canes. I don't like candy canes.
Yeah, candy canes are
The blueberry candy canes are okay. You don't see those often
There's
anymore.
not a candy cane that I would take over just about any other kind of candy.
But you
Maybe okay. What's worse, candy canes or candy corn?
Ooh, candy corn's worse.
I agree, but it's like
At least a candy cane, it could like freshen up my breath.
it's
a
like
bit.
neck and neck terrible. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. That's correct. The mintiness of the candy cane, if in a
Whereas-
pinch you could use it as a mint, and that takes it better than candy corn.
And then we would have to use our toothbrushes that are approved by the American Dental Association. Can we talk about the little general store in the first one again? Example of adults failing kids. Like a shoplifter, and then they run after him. They had more concern for that moment than they did where Kate asked the cops to go check on him, and they knocked on the door and they didn't say, "Hi guys, or hi Kevin, if you're home, we're here to. Your mom sent us to check on you, to let you know that everything's gonna be okay. All they did was lazily knock on the door and leave, but they can chase a kid down for stealing a toothbrush
For sure.
across the park. That's
Checks out.
insane. Again, what should we really call the Home Alone movies? How adults failed kids. The only adult really besides Marley in the first one that even tries to, surmise what's going on with Kevin is the woman at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And Kevin comes up with a
He's very good.
Excuse.
No, Kevin for his age, and obviously it's because it's a movie and he's an actor, but Kevin for his age is very good at
Didn't your mom ever send you into the store to get stuff with money? My mom would have me go in to our little, we called it Wilson's, and then it was later IGA. I don't even know if those exist anymore. It was a very tiny store, think tinier than Piggly Wiggly, like Foodland type around
I'll
here.
say it's Foodland. I'm never going to call it Piggly Wiggly.
Okay. Ever. But my mom would send me in to get small things all the time, when I was Kevin's age, because I think at the time she just didn't want to get out of the car. But I think she would tell me it builds character.
Sure. Yeah. I don't
Child labor.
I don't remember ever that. The only thing I note when we watch the grocery store scene is that movie was 1990, so it was filmed probably mostly in 89.
Yeah.
And every time I walk into our local grocery store down here,
Piggly Wiggly,
I'm like, oh,
formerly known as Foodland,
nothing.
literally
It looks
the
exactly
same.
the same.
And the
But
year
except
is
the thing is that's a problem.
yeah. The year is almost 2024, and it's because I've heard people talk. They're like, "Oh, I have nostalgia when I see the grocery store scene."
I don't.
Nostalgia. Just come on down to where we live.
The only
and go.
difference is I think the ceiling panels are just a little bit more yellow
And the
now
food
than they were
was
in the
better.
movie. Yeah. So.
Speaking of the food,
Oh, are you going to talk about mac and cheese?
I will get there in a minute.
Okay.
First off, a lovely cheese pizza just for me. So in the second one, where he gets in the limo and they open the box and you see that steam coming off the pizza, great.
Amazing.
Love it. I also love how the second movie, because the first one is easy on the Pepsi Fuller, but then if you notice the second one, they switch to Coke. Team Coke all day. Support me. We'll advertise for you, Team Coke. And all the junk food that Kevin eats, I love. What is it? The second one with the ice cream. He's like, 2 scoops, make it 3. I'm not driving. And just heard that phrase from adult. But we're going to talk about, like you said, the mac and cheese from the first one. We all talk about Roman empires. I realized what my actual Roman empire is while we were watching Home Alone. That Kevin did not get even one bite of that mac and cheese. And it looked, I know it's a frozen meal, but it looked delicious. It looked delectable. He took the time to light the candles. He sat down. He gets ready to take a bite. And then, everything starts. So he has to get ready, to man the house and get all, because the traps were already kind of set. So he has to get ready to, get into action. The fact that he couldn't just shove in a bite of it and run off, I'll never know. He could have had time to take a bite of that delicious mac and cheese. And it just, every time I watch it, I'm just cringing. Please, Kevin, take a bite of this delicious mac and cheese.
Looking at it through today's lens, I don't recall seeing branding on that. What was obviously just a microwave mac and cheese, and it's such a difference between movies now and movies then, because there was no shot that a movie in 2023 or 2024 is going to have microwave mac and cheese, not flash you what brand it is.
I mean, the branding that they had in it was the Pepsi and the Coke. Pepsi in the first one,
but even
Coke
then,
in the second one.
That's blink That's,
they mention Pepsi in the first one. They say easy on the Pepsi Fuller, because Fuller wets the bed. And then the second one, they show Coke because Kevin's pouring it into his little champagne glass.
Yeah, I mean, it's very light, so it's just lots changed.
I mean, Kevin thinks of mac and cheese as a meal, not just a side dish.
Right,
I have the appetite of an 8-year-old.
Yeah, mac and cheese is a side dish. I'm sorry. It's a side dish. There's nothing, there's no way around it. I can't just have mac and cheese for dinner.
All right, so let's move on to the actual booby traps.
Okay.
One of the games we like to play, and we play this every year since we've been dating. Maybe that's, again, I don't know, is that a red flag? We both enjoyed it. Was how many times would Harry and Marv die? I think it's would they have died from any of them in the first one?
I think
or
they
make it
maybe
out. Severe injury.
They make it out of the first movie without death.
Harry totally has a busted rib because when Marv takes the crowbar and smacks him with it.
With the spider.
With the spider.
And Harry also has probably a pretty bad infection on his hand. Or he certainly has a very bad burn.
Because you see the M still, the McAllister M from the doorknob in the second one. So that could totally get infected.
Marv, I think, probably has a pretty bad situation on his foot.
I hope he gets a tetanus shot.
Yeah,
when
he
they
needs
take
to
him
get a tetanus
prison.
shot for sure.
Because then he also steps on all those
And he
Christmas
steps on the
bulbs.
Christmas ornaments. The
Which
worst.
I've done before, by the way. I've stepped on a Christmas ornament like that. I remember when my mom used to set him out when we would decorate the tree, and apparently I'm just clumsy, and I totally stepped on one and had to pull it out of my foot when I was little. I'm still here, though.
And I think the worst probably single event. Now remember, all this stuff is stacked on top of it.
Yeah.
Is the paint cans in the first one hitting them,
Yeah.
and then they fall down. That's concussion territory for sure. But it's unclear.
And when they slip on the concrete, you could get it concussed.
Yeah,
there
it's
as
well, but they fell off the steps too.
Yeah.
But it's unclear how much paint is in those paint
I
cans.
don't think
so...
they're dying.
No,
in the
no,
first
no,
one.
no.
Severely injured. Second one, the moment Kevin throws bricks, dead.
Marv is
dead.
dead multiple times just from those bricks.
Bricks dead.
That's like a 3 to 4 story building. Those bricks are
The
coming down from.
100-pound bag of concrete, dead.
Cracks his neck.
The electrocution where we see his skull,
Dead.
What about Harry? I don't know if Harry's necessarily dead when he sticks his head in the toilet after it's caught on fire and there's an explosion. Severely injured.
He'd be on fire.
That's true.
Like,
Possibly dead.
yeah, because he dipped his hair.
And then that thing where not the paint cans, but that big heavy bar, when that hits them and knocks them dead. And
Yeah.
then if they're not dead yet, when it falls and lands on them,
well, they
finishes
go
them
all
off,
the way
breaks
because
necks,
there's a
maybe.
hole. Yeah, there's a hole in the floor behind them, so they don't just fall. Like in the first movie, they fall off the steps and just
Yeah.
hit the floor. In this one, they're falling off the steps and like
Wow,
down a
what a hole.
story, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not just the fact that they've just been hit in the head by this gigantic steel or galvanized pipe,
Yeah.
but they're also falling probably 20 feet and
And I
landing
love-
on a concrete floor. Like that's it.
I
Lights
love how
out.
the second one, like obviously the first one, almost all the neighbors are out of town. We know this
Yeah.
because apparently that's what. Do you guys travel for Christmas other than like traveling to see family? Do you guys take vacations, or is that just a rich people thing? That aside, so New York City, we know there's got to be people around in the
There
Brownstone
are
area.
both brownstones on both sides
Have,
when they
like, their
show exterior sites. They're
decorations.
like their lights are
So,
on. Yeah.
Is this just is this New York shenanigans?
Yeah, this is
People just
whatever.
being loud, being dismissive of it. You know that Kevin though totally got that company fired. That Rob's gonna fire that company when they come
Oh,
home with
yeah,
that
for
massive
sure.
renovations. Somebody's getting fired.
The only way out of that would be if in this situation Kevin can't conceal the shenanigans, because like we talked in the first
Yeah.
one, Kevin and the South Bend shovel killer.
They clean up everything but Buzz's room.
They clean up, yeah, and it's unbeknownst to the parents what happened. Okay, but in the second one at the end, so one, Duncan sent all the toys. Well, that's
Yeah.
got to put up a red flag.
Because Kevin threw the rock to let him know, like, hey, these are the
Yeah.
bad guys. He took the pictures.
So at some point, I feel like it's less likely. Well, because Duncan obviously was able to figure out it was Kevin.
I like how the
figure out they were
McAllister family
there.
barely questions it, though.
So at some point, the police are going to come
Yeah.
back and do some questioning of Kevin to get his statement, and
Possibly.
the jig will be up at that
Or
point.
are we having another situation where once again adults fail kids? I think Peter and Kate are so stupid, and obviously Frank is stupid and Leslie are stupid, that they just don't even think anything of it. They're like, because you see at one point where you think Buzz in the second one with all the gifts, like is like, okay, who's Mr. Duncan,
Yeah.
and all he does is shut everyone up so they can give Kevin the present first. Where Frank is like knocking the kids over, like, where's mine? Where's mine? Because again, Frank, a bum.
Bum.
The hotel staff in the second one, failing kids.
Yes.
I do love Tim Curry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's perfect in that role.
Cinematic poetry, brilliance, where, because Kevin does watch The Grinch in both movies, where the Grinch smiles and then you see Tim Curry smile. The
Yeah,
same
it was
Grinchy
great.
smile.
It was perfect.
It's a Wonderful Life is referenced in both of them. We have it in French in the first one where the McAllisters are watching it. Then it's in Spanish in the second one because a lot of people speak Spanish in Florida. So that's, again, a similarity between the two of them. That hotel in Florida looked awful.
Oh, terrible.
Why would you let Frank be in charge of it?
Why would you go to Florida for Christmas?
Well, if you maybe Disney World, that'd be fine. Although it would be probably really busy.
Yeah, no, thank you. Pass.
Really busy,
Like,
really
and you're
busy.
even like you're like
Yeah, I know how busy it would be.
the only thing that could get me to Walt Disney
I don't
World
think I would go into the park day. I would do
on
like a
Christmas
resort
Day, and we've talked about this before.
Yes.
If They took the Ghost of Christmas Present from A Muppet Christmas Carol
Yes.
and said for one day only, Christmas Day, he's going to be wandering around the parks.
Yes.
And in the morning, he's going to be his like morning self. And as the day goes on, they're going to swap him out for
Yes.
different versions, gray him up a little bit as the day goes
Feels
on.
like Christmas.
If they did that, now I would show up to do that because
I
I'd
wanna
want to go give him a big hug.
hug.
Yes.
I do. I really do. And I think that'd be really cool.
And that's my TED Talk for the day, that they should do that.
So, anything else you want to say about Home Alone? Again, adults failing kids. The theme of both movies. Peters has the audacity to yell at Kevin about room service, which, by the way, nowadays that's going to be like $2,000. Kevin spent
sure.
like $967.
Yeah,
He's
like-
like you spent $967 on room service, and I'm like, you left your kid at home twice.
Is it a situation where Peter's actually the one that can discipline Kevin and he very rarely does it? Because when Peter starts yelling about that to Kevin, Kevin seems scared. Whereas if it was Mom, I feel like he'd just have some retort.
Well, doesn't he make the
to
same
toss back
face
at
though
her.
when Buzz shouts at
Yeah,
him about like Kevin, you
because-
destroyed my room?
Like, yeah, Kevin having the mouth on him that he should be like, well, you like lost me. And I
Yeah.
ended up in New York.
Now,
and this
I'll
is the second year in a row that something weird has
will
happened.
say-
So forgive me if I indulged myself a little.
The second one, a little bit of it is on Kevin
Sure, yes.
because he was so obsessed with putting the batteries in the Talk Boy, which is so cool that was a toy that was in the movie and that would later come out. Like it wasn't a toy that existed beforehand. I always thought that was neat. But at the same time, Kevin is still the child. Peter should have made sure he was holding Kevin's hand, noticing that Kevin was there, saying like grabbing him by the arm while Kevin was messing around. So yeah, a little bit on Kevin, but still, who's the adult in the situation?
Exactly.
100%. 100%. So yeah, I think that about covers our TED Talk on Home Alone. Maybe next year we'll deep dive into another movie, but since that's one of the best ones, I would definitely put Home Alone in my top group of movies. My other top group of Christmas movies, no particular order because I love them all for different reasons. I gotta go with our rant at the beginning, Christmas Vacation.
Certainly.
Funny, still makes me laugh to this day. I also have to put A Muppet Christmas Carol up there.
Which I don't think was always the case for you. But it's been growing on you this
It really
last,
did
like,
grow
yeah.
on me a lot. Like it was something like I remember the unhinged Muppet Sesame Street special more
Yeah.
that I watched as a kid, which Daniel was able to secure for me and I can watch that. It was where the Muppets, Fraggle Rock,
Mm-hmm.
and not a Christmas Story, and the Muppets
Sesame Street.
Sesame Street,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I cannot talk right now. I'm so excited about it. And they all and we both like I thought for the longest time like that I made it up.
Yeah.
Like I was like, did I make that up? Because the snowman from that makes an appearance in A Muppet Christmas Carol because
Right.
that came out later.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I remember watching. And then I started really getting into A Muppet Christmas Carol because that was a tradition that you had growing up with your family. And like I had seen it before as a kid. We just didn't always watch that one. And I love like it's best soundtrack. I've been singing the songs for like
Yes.
I've really been singing the songs since like November.
You've already watched it once this year, haven't
Yeah, I
you?
cheated on you
Yeah.
and watched it. Then we're Marley and Marley. Woo! But it's my favorite version of A Christmas Carol. If I'm gonna
Oh,
have to watch
absolutely.
that.
Michael Caine goes so hard.
Michael Caine deserves an Oscar for the sheer reason where he does the line about like at Fozzie Rubber Chicken
Rubber Chicken
Factory.
Factory with a straight
Like
face.
he just delivers. Now I'm gonna say this about that movie, and apparently this is where sorry, kids are stupid. Kids have no attention
Agree.
span. The whole I know it's a long song, but that is a pivotal part of that movie, and apparently like on Disney Plus it'll even skip it, but if you go to like extras you can watch it.
She's referencing the
When
duet
love-
between Scrooge
Yeah, the
and
love
his
song.
love interest there at about like right before you get to the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Yeah.
There, for anybody who's not aware, there is a song there that on most versions you see today
Is it called like When Love Is Gone
yeah,
or
is
something?
cut.
Yeah. You guys used to just fast forward it.
Yeah, we used to just fast forward to it.
And I think it's because it does go on a little long, and like I said, kids have no like attention span. But if you're watching it to see the arc of Ebenezer Scrooge,
Mm-hmm.
that is huge. It's so important to actually include that scene
Yes.
because it just kind of skips to the next part, and you miss that arc about like why the feelings that he has now, and then they do a reprise of the song at the end.
Like it's the finale song.
It is
yeah.
the finale song. So watch it with the song. And watch it be like knowing that like this is an important part of it. If your kid gets bored, say, "Hey kid, this is important." and these are the reasons why. Or just tell your kid to go get a cookie break or something. I don't know. So let's see here. The next one I would put up there, I would put Elf in that group.
I agree.
Elf is fantastic. It, like you said, it's a movie that really grew on us. I can't believe Elf is 20 years old. Insane
It's nuts.
to me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Insane. Because I still consider Elf as like a newer Christmas movie. So what do I have so far? Both Home Alones, Christmas Vacation, and Muppet Christmas Carol, Elf. I would definitely put I do like the first Santa Claus. I think it would be my lower A tier, not necessarily
like,
B
for
tier.
me,
For you,
yeah,
it's B tier.
It's a B tier for me.
Now I put like the Santa Claus 2 in B tier, which you would throw off a cliff because you just like the first one. But I do really like the Santa Claus, and I have a good memory of that.
Okay.
We used to, with my siblings, we used to always, Dad would always take us to, because he would always take off that week after Christmas. And we would always like go, like, you know, it's where you return your clothes that doesn't fit on the 26th and stuff. And we would often go see a movie together as a family. And that's one of the last movies I remember seeing with, because I am the youngest of my family. And when you're the youngest, the traditions change the most for you.
Yeah.
Because as the youngest, you know, your siblings grow up and they get older, you know, before you do. But we all saw that like the day after Christmas. And I remember seeing that in theaters. And I remember being fascinated by how Tim Allen like literally turned into Santa. And can I just say that it does hurt that Scott Calvin is 38 in the movie? Like, what a knife to the heart.
Yeah, that stings, particularly for me this year.
And now I'm going to give, because Daniel's now older than that. I am going to do a hot take now.
Okay.
I still would consider it A group because it's such solidified in my tradition of where I watch it 24 hours a day. But I don't love A Christmas Story as much as everybody else does. I really like it. I enjoy watching it. It is just something I like to have on the background while I'm getting stuff ready. If, like, when we used to host Christmas, I would just have it on all day. But it's probably the lowest for me in my A group. I'd still put it in the A group just because, like, not a finger. You used up all the glue on purpose. And it just has so many funny moments. And it is so nostalgic. But I don't think it's as great as the other Christmas movies that I mentioned. And I know that's a very unpopular opinion. What are your thoughts? You want to rebuttal me, or do you agree?
It's not even close to A for me, but I never watched that movie, and I'd never seen that movie until I met you.
Which is baffling me. Like, what did you do on the holidays? Did you not just have that movie in the background on, like, what is it, TBS? I think both TBS and TNT show it all day.
Well, prior to getting a Nintendo 64, I would have been trying to find Star Wars on whatever channel. Yeah, Star Wars on whatever channel they might have been playing it on. Once I got a Nintendo 64 and onward, I was trying to find any TV I possibly could to plug that thing into.
All right, fair enough. But would you put it in your B group, your B tier?
It's like low B, high C.
Like, it's good, and it has its funny moments. But in comparison to Home Alone's, Christmas Vacation, The Muppets, Elf, Santa Claus, OG, I would put it lower than those.
Let me put it this way.
I do really like it, though.
I'm fine with it being on as background noise on Christmas Day and not watching it before or after that for a whole year.
I think for me, it's one of those that I really like. Like, I liked it more when I was younger, like as a kid. And then I kind of transitioned to be more into like Christmas Vacation and stuff.
Yeah.
And then like Elf. But Home Alone's always been there for me. I remember seeing the second Home Alone in theaters. Like, I did not see the first one, which I feel like is very common for a lot of people because I think it got really popular like after this was pre-DVD. So that would have been like VHS release. But I have like a very distinct memory of going to see the second one in theaters. So like Home Alone's always been there. But yeah, I do think I liked A Christmas Story better when I was a kid. But it still has really good moments. Like it was soap poisoning. Do you remember soap poisoning Winston?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, our little doggy that we used to have, who we miss very much. Now I'm going to bring down the mood. But there would be times where if he wanted a treat or something, like, because he was blind later in his age, but he would play it up a bit, and we would call it soap poisoning Winston. So I always think of that during that scene because it makes me remember my sweet little Winston. Do you have any movies, let's bring it back up, that I did not mention that you would put in this list of Christmas movies here?
No, I don't think so. Like, when it comes to the big ones that we enjoy every year, I think we are in pretty solid step with one another. I think if we were going to get into an actual like top 5 rating, we'd probably have the same movies in there. It would just
maybe
be
a different order.
order.
And my order could
but
change on any given day.
I don't, me, I don't want to even have the conversation of ranking because I hate ranking things, because it is for me it is very mood like dependent. Like I might not be in the mood to watch one movie versus another.
Like I would say, if you're wanting to sit down and you're not unhinged like my family and letting everybody watch Christmas Vacation at whatever age you please, and you want to just straight up do a family movie, maybe go with Muppet Christmas Carol. But if you are crazy and you want something funny, then Christmas Vacation. I see them like I saw somebody on Facebook. They're like, a Muppet Christmas Carol is the best family movie. Christmas Vacation is the best Christmas movie. But I could go back and forth with Home Alone on Christmas Vacation on any given day. Which one I like better of the two? Again, Christmas Vacation, I have a lot of memories because I'd watch it with my brother and my brother-in-law, and we would always watch it together on like December 23rd, and my family does quote that movie year round, y'all. It could be like a hot August day and someone's gonna come at you with a Christmas Vacation quote.
Yes.
My B tier would be and this is probably where I said, sorry I wasn't roasting them, but I appreciated the answer, Deck the Halls. A lot of people would probably see Christmas with the Cranks in the same area. I liked the book Skipping Christmas, so I enjoy Christmas with the Cranks. Maybe I just like I know he can be people either love or hate Tim Allen. Maybe I just like Tim Allen's movies that I enjoy Christmas with the Cranks. That was one we watched earlier.
He's grouchy in all those holiday movies, so he fits that stereotype you fall into.
I guess so. I like the little reference to the Santa Claus in Christmas with the Cranks when he's like, "Who is it? Santa Claus," and he kind of makes like a wink face because he was fresh off doing both like the sequel. Santa Claus 2 would have just come out a little earlier than that. Now I always watch The Family Stone Without You. That's one that when you watch it you don't hate it, but you don't need to see it every year.
No, it's a bummer.
And that one is a very melancholy one, but there are like shenanigans that I enjoy with that one, but it is very sad.
I have enough seasonal depressive order already going on this time of year. I don't need a movie like that bumming me out even worse.
And then old classics, I do have an affinity for White Christmas. He's a song and dance man. That is where Bing Crosby does tap dance with Danny Kaye.
Okay.
I remember one of the first times that Daniel ever watched A White Christmas with me. He's like, "Wait a minute, is that what that line from Christmas Vacation is from?" And I was like, "Yes, they're referencing White Christmas." You didn't hate White Christmas when you saw it. You appreciated it from like a cinematic, like movie buff kind of way. Like I remember you said you appreciated the work you put into it, but it isn't something that you would choose to watch.
I like watching old movies to see how things worked and the way they had to get around the technical shortcomings of the time. But there's a lot of and there are old movies that I do really think are very good movies. But a lot of old movies for me is just like I'm having trouble getting into this.
You do realize that White Christmas is like the blueprint for Hallmark movies. We have the Misunderstanding, but much better than a Hallmark movie. Yes. And then of course, Four Christmases. I would be high B+ Four Christmases. So I guess our homework is to watch Fred Claus again and try to come up with an opinion on that. Is there any like recent Christmas movie that you can think of that you would put in this list, like new ones? I'm having a real hard time.
I think Four Christmases is probably the most.
I know
recent.
When did that come out? Like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, somewhere in that realm. So
I
don't know.
can't really think of anything that would be the Santa Claus 3, which was the worst of the Santa Clauses. Yeah,
get that out of here.
And since this is the podcast for We Watch TV,
about the TV that we watch.
We do always like to go back and revisit some Christmas-themed episodes of our favorite shows. So what would you say? Let's see, The Middle has some good ones. There are a few Friends ones, but Friends is more Thanksgiving zone. Go check out that episode if you haven't already. I don't know what number the Thanksgiving episode was.
It's titled The One with All the Thanksgiving.
Yeah, there you go.
So.
Easy enough. Let's see here. I can't even... Oh, Raymond has some good ones, but what do you think is the best? Because I bet we're going to agree.
It's Frasier for me. They always have a really good Christmas one, and my particular favorite is High Holiday. I think that's the last season.
Yes, that's season 11.
Christmas episode. Yeah, it's just all-time classic.
So many good ones. We just recently rewatched those. Oh, that 70s show has some good Christmas episodes.
The first season of that 70s show, the Christmas episode in that one is, if I were going to be doing ranking, it certainly would be in the conversation.
Jackie says she's giving presents to the unfortunate. Don't you mean less fortunate?
Yeah, bums.
And then they get the tree off the highway and the bird flies out. Kitty, it's so fresh. But I'm going to agree. 100% big shocker that the Frasier episodes are the best ones. There's so many good ones. Merry Christmas, Mrs. Moskowitz. Jesus! Like where Frasier has to pretend to be Jewish for his girlfriend. Classic. We Two Canes, where he and Niles fight about who gets to host Christmas and whose Christmas village is bigger. Great. I'm going to agree with you. High Holidays is the best one.
You've wavered in years past.
I have.
But I think this year you watched it and it finally sold you on it.
It really did. We have Freddie the Goth. There's so many, just like there's Freddie the Goth. Like he's a goth now. And then like where you and I were talking about, this is a whole other podcast discussion someday about the difference in writing style between the OG Frasier and the new one. That little throwaway line about the Garlic Festival gets to me every time. He's like, oh, we're planning a trip to the Garlic Festival. And then like, so Freddie comes in like a goth and Martin, what does he say?
You better move up that trip to the Garlic Festival.
And it's just like little sprinklings in like that. So that's a future holiday thing that we can do maybe for another year.
Hopefully we've got years of podcasting ahead of us.
Let us know. We kind of did our deep dive on Home Alone this
Yeah.
year because it was the one that we watched the most, and we put that poll up. Which movie do you want us to dissect next year? I can dissect them all. I can dissect Elf, Muppet Christmas Carol, Christmas Vacation. There's so many. So let us
The
know.
pigeon lady from Home Alone 2 is a ghost. I will take no more questions.
Thanks for listening to this episode of We Watch TV, a podcast about the TV shows we watch. You can find more from Hope and Daniel on Instagram at We Watch TV Podcast. Drop us a line if you like the show, have a question, or a recommendation. You can find Hope on Twitter at Lil Runner and Daniel on Twitter at The Real Hobo Dan. Music for today's podcast was provided by Your Tunes from Pixabay. Artwork was created using the AI program Midjourney with prompts written by Daniel.